Igor, is everything okay for you?
Yeah, really good, Prabhu.
I've been having some talks with Seshwar Prabhu about Puri, and wow, he's got some really great ideas.
Wow.
He's suggesting we make Gora into like a mutt, and we use that to help make friends with different mahants and different pandas and things. And one of the ideas that he's suggesting is that Gora regularly organizes cleaning in different temples. Like we were thinking we bring a group of devotees for yatra. We used to have a Dham Seva day, but it's not always so popular, and devotees are only there for a short time. They like the idea, but you're only there for a week. It's that not very practical. So we realize a better way to do it is we go to the Vishakamat, the deities of Narahari Sakar, when we want to take Leela Purushottam Prabhu. And we do program there for maybe 2 hours in Qatar, an hour and a half, whatever. And then after we do that, then we have a half an hour with our group of 25 or 50 or 100, 200, whatever devotees, and we just clean for that long. I think it'd be really good and big static. Everybody may be pretty much into that. I think it's not a.
That's really cool.
So we got some ideas like that, but kirtan is such an important part of it. Really.
There's a couple devotees who are prospective members of the kirtan party. We'll see what happens. I really want to focus on having the fact, their sadhutva being a prominent factor instead of just like an ashram full of rowdy boys who can play instruments.
Thank you. You could probably maybe Leela Purushottam Prabhu might go. You get permission from his wife to go for a year or two.
We'll keep him.
He's not a bad musician either.
Sounds very idyllic.
What did you say? I didn't hear Leela Purushottam Prabhu.
Sounds very idyllic.
It's really nice for devotees to come to the Dham and be able to do kirtan instead of other stuff, just pizza and whatever like that. I mean, I'm not a demon. We all like pizza, but it's much better if we can do some program with the devotees, do some kirtan. It's so much better. Okay.
I often think about you quoting Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying that in his vision that if you do, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him that if you do your kirtan here, then that will be heard all the way around the world.
That's Indra. Okay, why don't we go ahead and start? Goragraganya gana go to Goloru Haram, Goranga Guditama Gopyata Kopa Briksham. Gopalagare Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachiya Dileka Kola Kahe Premananda Emona Goranga Hridaya Dariya Bola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangira Namare Jai Jana Goranga Bhaje Se Hayamada Pranare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Yeshaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya, Prema-bhakti-candrika Prema-bhakti-candrika Tasmai Jaganmangalamandalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madhavirapi Gopala Sri Kriya Kripaya Jari Vidaiva Sambhaya Pitva Rishayustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunatha Vrajabhavapahima Vanchakalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Vyeva Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Read this verse from Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's Narottam Prabhu-rashtakam. Shri Krishna Nama Amrita Vaishi Vaktra Chandra Prabhadvasta Tumo Bharaya Gauranga Deva Anucharaya Tasmai Nama Shri Narottam. Again and again I affirm my obeisances to Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He is indeed a true follower of Lord Gauranga Dev, the nectarian shower of the holy name radiating from the moon of his mouth destroys the darkness of ignorance. So we're continuing with our discussion of Prema-bhakti-candrika. This is the 5th verse in the 3rd section. Put this on. Kame mura hatta chitta nahi jani nija hita manirana uche durbasana Murinata angi kuru tumivansha kopataru karuna dekuka sarvajan. So Narottam Das Thakur is continuing with his discussion about humility, and it's a very important subject. We've been speaking about this for the last 3 or 4 sessions. He's, as we commented over and over again, and I just love repeating this, my Guru Maharaj used to say, your only qualification is your disqualification. We have to own it. So Narottam Das Thakur is singing here that what is my position? I want to fix my mind on you, Krishna, my chitta, my consciousness, my heart. But kame mura hatta chitta. My heart is pierced with all these lusty desires. Nahi jani nija hita. And because of that, I don't know what's good and what's not good. And this is the situation for the living entities in this material world. Manira naguchi durbhasan. And these durbhasana, these wicked desires in my mind, my mind can't conquer these things. My mind's not powerful enough. More nata angi kuru. So he prays, my dear Lord, more angi nata kuru, that you please accept me. You don't see my bad qualities. Tumi vansha kalpataru. Because you're so merciful, you're a wish-fulfilling tree. Karuna dekuka sarvajana. And then everybody will be able to see how merciful you are if you save me. It's a good deal. It'll be good for me and it'll also be good for you. This is a prayer of Narottam Das Thakur. So we want to contemplate a little something on this verse today, and probably the next verse also. That Narottam here, he's speaking about our sukshma deha. We have three dehas. We have our stula deha, which we spoke about some in the house of Buddha Purushottam Prabhu, and what that stula means, stula buddhi. It means the gross material body. And there's a sukshma deha. Sukshma means the subtle body. And then we have the atma deha, or the body of the spirit soul, to identify with. So when we identify with the sukshma deha, that sukshma deha is looking, in this verse he's speaking about how I want to worship the Lord. That's the purpose. I want to use my sukshma deha to worship the Lord. And due to association with saintly devotees, this inclination toward bhajan becomes strong in our heart. And due to that association, then we get some strength, some bala in that sangha with saintly persons. And we're able to give up our wicked activities. And we're able to distinguish between what's good and what's bad. Otherwise, nahi jani nija hita. People just don't know what's good and what's bad. I had friends from good families, good people, good families in America, there's such a thing, who just started hanging out with people who seemed like their friends, and then those persons were doing drugs, and those persons were stealing things. And then the next thing you know, all of a sudden they're on a very bad path. So because of this lust in the mind, kamaistaishtir-hita jnana, which takes away, that lust takes away our intelligence, kami mura hata chitta, it pierces our chitta. Narottam Das Thakur uses the word hata. Hata means to kill, hata means to cut or pierce. So it's killing our consciousness, or it's piercing our consciousness and dividing it. So we may have some propensity, we may have some conviction that I want to practice bhajan, but kami mura hata chitta, that lust comes in, it pierces my heart. And then what happens next? Nahi jani nija hita, that I become confused. I don't know what's good for me, what's good and what's bad. And so through that bad association, my heart becomes polluted and it gets immersed in sense gratification. And by that, we become very weak and we lose the power to distinguish between good and bad. And that heart, which is bereft of knowledge, kamaistaishtir-hita jnana, Narottam Das Thakur says, kami mura hata chitta. It's hata, it's dead-like. So then Narottam Das Thakur, he says that manera naguchi durbasa, that this is what happens. My mind can't conquer over this basana, this durbasana. Basana means some impressions. Durbasana means some bad impressions or material desires, wicked desires. My mind can't conquer those things. The mind can only accept and reject. And because it's identifying with the gross material body, with the stula deha, then it naturally identifying with that, then it accepts things which are pleasurable for the physical body as being beneficial and being worthy and good things. So again, we don't know nahi jani nija hita, then mana naguchi durbasana. He's speaking in the mood of a sadhak who is beginning in spiritual life and is having a difficult time. My mind's not strong enough to conquer over these different wicked desires and things. And I don't know what's good and what's bad. My Guru Maharaj, when he would speak about this, he would often turn to this wonderful song written by a great saint who at one point was living in Jagannath Puri and speaking with some of the old sadhus at Tota Gopinath Temple. They say that this sadhu was coming every day to Tota Gopinath Temple. And every day he would go there and he would sing a song that he wrote about Gopinath. So we can look at this. Gopinath mama nivedana suno vishai durjana sadakamarata kichu nahi morago. So he's singing that Gopinath mama nivedana suno. Hey Gopinath, will you please listen to what I'm saying? Now it's interesting that he's saying Gopinath. Sometimes devotees, they say, well, when we're on the platform of material desires, material consciousness, we can't approach Radha Krishna. And so we can only worship Vishnu. And therefore, some people say, because of that, we recite Vishnu Bhakti Pratidevi. We should pray to Lord Vishnu for Vishnu Bhakti. But here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur disagrees with that. He's not just saying that, hey, Krishna Mama Nivedana Suna, hey, Krishna, listen, but he's saying, hey, Gopinath, Lord of the Gopis. And in this song, there's a great contrast between the position of Krishna, who's the Lord of the Gopis, and ourselves who are fallen in this material world. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is calling out, Mama Nivedana Shuno. Hey, Gopinath, please listen. Please hear my prayer. And he's discussing his material disqualification. And as we've commented many times before, in the material realm, people hide their faults. But in the spiritual realm, they freely acknowledge them. And even if those faults don't belong to them, like we see in the case of Srivas Thakur, when one wicked person puts some wine, dead flesh, and objects to worship Goddess Durga on his doorstep. Srivas Thakur, when he got up in the morning and he saw that, many people might clean it up real quick before anybody came and saw it. But Srivas Thakur just went and proclaimed, everybody come and look, see what I do every day. So we don't deny that. And this is a problem amongst materialistic devotees, amongst neophyte devotees. We feel the necessity of hiding our faults. And that's a sad thing. Some in our society of preachers, everybody's wanting to be a preacher, and that's good. We should be preachers. There's an unfortunate occurrence that we feel the necessity of hiding our fallen condition. And there is some necessity of that, because if you have some problems and you go and start telling everybody about it freely, then maybe they'll think, oh, that's also okay for me. So a gentleman doesn't speak about those things. But at the same time, we have to proclaim it. And here Bhaktivinoda is saying that when I'm speaking to Krishna, my oldest, dearest friend, this is what I'm telling him, that Ami Vishai Durja, that I'm a Vishai, I'm a sense enjoyer, I'm just a materialistic person, I'm a Durja. I'm a very, very wicked person. Sada Kamarata. I'm always attracted to lusty things. And Kichu Nahi Moraguna. I don't have any good qualities whatsoever. He says, Gopinath Amara Bhada Satumi. That, hey, Gopinath, still I have some hope. You're my only hope. Tomara Charane Loyinu Sarane. That I'm coming to you. Loyinu Sarana. And I'm grabbing a hold of your lotus feet. And I'm crying. And Tomara Kinkara Ami. I'm identifying that I'm your Kinkara. I'm your servant. That's who I am. And I'm taking shelter of you. Kemoni Shodibimu. Hey Gopinath. Kemoni Shodibimu. How are you going to purify me? Najani Bhakti. You may tell me, oh, you should practice bhakti. You should go join Ayendra Prabhu's Kirtan and Krishna Balaram Mandir. But Najani Bhakti, I don't know how to do bhakti. Karme Jadamati. My mind is always absorbed in fruitive activities of karma, nasty things. Jada means something dead, something material. This is the consciousness of my mind. Podechi sangsaragare. And I've fallen into this sangsaragare. Gare means some terrible place, like a horror movie. I've fallen down into this, and in this deep ditch, I can't get out. Shakale tomara maya. Because here, everything, shakala tomara maya, everything is your maya. Nahi mama bala, Gopinath, I have no strength. Who wants to admit this? In the material world, everybody wants to pretend they have so much strength. I have no strength. Jnana sunirmala. I have no transcendental knowledge. I have no nirmala. Nirmala means something which is pure. Jnana, I may have some gyan, it's indicating, but if I do have some gyan, because perhaps Krishna says, no, you know so much. You have a PhD, you have this and that, but no, it's not sunirmala. It's not jnana sunirmala. It's not transcendental pure knowledge. Sodina nahi ekai. And so I'm not independent. Swadina nahi ekai. This deha, this body of mine, it's not independent. It's controlled. I'm just like a puppet being played, and I want to be freed from this. How can I be freed from this? Gopinath niyata charanishthana. Gopinath. So I'm coming to you, niyata charanishthana. This is my eternal place. I want to come to your lotus feet. And Krishna may say then, well, how long do you want to come? And my lotus feet are a little bit of a busy place. I have a lot of dates on the calendar, a lot of people wanting to come to my lotus feet. And Bhaktivinoda says, niyata, always. I just want to go there and I just want to stay there at your lotus feet. Mage e pamar. I'm a palmer. I'm a very sinful, very, very wicked person. Mage, I'm begging and begging. I'm not just begging, but kandi, I'm crying and crying. Koro he karunadana. Koro means to, you're translating here, please give. But actually, koro means to do. It means that literally, koro karunadana, you force your mercy. Because I'm so stupid, I don't even want your mercy. I'm so very foolish. So koro karuna dana, you give me this mercy. This is a real dana. This is a real wealth. Gopinath. This is Bhaktivinoda's song. Tumi to shakali paro. He says, hey Gopinath, Tumi to shakali paro. Gopinath, don't try to cheat me. Perhaps Gopinath will say, well, it's very difficult, your situation, because you're not giving up sense gratification. Then how can I help you? Right? If you're not going to give up taking poison, then what can the doctor do? So then Bhaktivinoda, in complete surrender, he says, Gopinath Tumi to Shakali Par. You have all the power. You have all the Shakti. Durjani Taditi Tomada Shakti. You can deliver Durjani Tarite. You can deliver all the Durjanas, all the sinful persons. Tomara Shakti. That's your potency. Keachi Papira Aro. And so, if you're going to deliver those fallen persons, who Keachi Papira Aro, who is more of a sinner than myself? Gopinath. Tumi Kripa Parabara. Jivara Kayani Asya Prapanchi Lila Koile Subistar. He says, my dear Gopinath, you're Kripa Parabar. Now let's talk about saying the same thing in the song today. That you're the ocean of mercy. And Jivara Kayani Asya Prapanchi. The purpose of your pastimes in this material world is Jivara Karne, to deliver the living entities here. This is why you come to this material world, Lila Koile Subistar, and you expand your pastimes here. What does it mean to Subistar, to expand his pastimes? It means that the living entities in this material world were also part of your pastimes, Krishna. As Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in one purport in the 10th canto, that the purpose of Krishna's pastimes in this material world is to make them more attractive. And we often cite this. He says that just as a candle, if you light it in the middle of the day at noon, and you take it outside, you can't even see it. But the same candle at night looks so beautiful. Or a diamond on a silver plate, you don't notice it, you can't see it. But when you put that same diamond on a piece of black velvet, it looks very beautiful. So similarly, this is the beauty of Krishna's pastimes. Jiva Rakarani Asya Prapanchi Lila Koile Subhistar. You've come here and we're all part of Krishna's Lila in that sense. You've come here to deliver all the living entities. And Bhaktivinoda, then he's crying and crying. Amiki doshi doshi. He says, my dear Gopinath, I'm trying to count, but I can't even count how many faults that I have, how many sins that I have. Ashura Shakara Pailu Charna. But there's so many demons, Putana, Trinavarta, Agasura, and others. They've all gotten your mercy. They attained your lotus feet. But still, Vinoda Takilo Boshi. Boshi means to be situated. He says that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's Takilo Boshi, he's staying here in this material existence. So this is the mood of the devotees, not that we deny our faults, deny our position, but Natandas Thakur is saying, Kame Mura Hatta Chitta, Nahi Jani Nija Hitta, that this, my chitta, it's become pierced, it's become killed, Hatta Chitta, it's become killed by lust. And I don't know what should be done and what should not be done. Manananaguchi Durvasana. My mind doesn't have the strength to overcome these things. Morinati Angi Kuru Tumi Vancha Kalpataru. So says, my dear Lord, you're my Nata. You're my Lord, not this sense gratification. So Angi Kuru, please, please accept me as part of yourself. Angi, Anga means part of your body. The Angi Kuru, you accept me in a very intimate way, because I know you're Tumi Vancha Kalpataru. You're a wish-fulfilling tree. Karuna Deku Kasarvajan. And if you deliver me, then you'll show your mercy to all living entities. This is Narottam Das Thakur's prayer. So I'm going to stop there for a minute. I'd like to go on to the next verse from Narottam, but before I do, maybe devotees have some reflection and comments or anything at this point. Does anybody feel like a very fallen, sinful person? It's a little depressing. In the material world, when we start to speak about these things, people say, no, that's not right. Prabhu, you should, the power of positive thinking. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be a masochist. But it's not like in the material world. In the spiritual sense, when we own this, then it opens up our heart to mercy. And without freely showing our heart and the fallen condition that we're in, what is the hope for that? And therefore, it's a difficult thing sometimes. It's a difficult thing in our society, because it's a society where we're taught to put on a costume. I was just working on a beautiful verse. Let's see if I can find it here. This next bindu is probably the most intense bindu I've ever worked on. and it may be the longest bindu yet. I haven't counted, checked it out with other pages, but it's 14 pages long. That's just the text, which means it'll probably be about 30 pages or something. But it's been hard for me because I've been going through so many different Sanskrit books and things and different commentaries, looking for the original text so that we can check the translations. And one was very, very difficult for me. That was Hari Bhakti Vilas with Sanatana Goswami's Tika. I have Hari Bhakti Vilas, but I didn't have a soft copy of Sanatana Goswami's Tika. I had from the 11th Vilas on. I'm on the 10th Vilas. It's a little complicated. So anyway, we, with great difficulty, with the help of some good friends, we managed to find it. And here's the thing that I share with you. This is really cool. So this is a verse from Hari Bhakti Sudhagoya. This is spoken by Bhumi Devi. I saw that comment, Jaipur. Krishna Kone asked me today, when are you going to be working on the next printed magazine? I said, oh, yeah, I should be thinking about that. It's hard to think about much else than what's going on. Anyway, so Bhumi Devi, she speaks to Prahlad, and she tells him such a beautiful thing. Akshno phalam tvadrishas darshanam hi. That the purpose of being able to see is fulfilled by seeing you. Tano phalam tvadrisha gata sangaha. Jiva phalam tadrisha kirtanam cha. Touching your body is a fulfillment of touch. Jiva phala, the tongue is meant to glorify your qualities. Tadrisha kirtanam. Sudurla bhavagavatahi loke. Because it's very difficult to find a pure devotee in this world like you. So this verse, we give a little comment here. This verse is quoted in Prabhupada's Bhagavatam, as well as in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and again it's quoted in Hari Bhakti Vilas. And it's in Hari Bhakti Vilas that we want to look right now. In his commentary on this verse, in Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sanatana Goswami says, he discusses this word tvadrisha, which is used 3 times in this verse. Tvadrishanam katanchit tvad anukarana atvatam apidarshanam evakshano phalam evam anyad api. He says, Sanatana Goswami explains that what to speak of seeing a devotee, just seeing a person who imitates the feelings and dress of a devotee, grants perfection to the existence of the eyes. we can mention this in our discussion about devotee dress. I don't know. And the next thing we have a story from Shyamananda, a very amazing story. But it's such a beautiful statement from Sanatana Goswami. What to speak of seeing a devotee, just seeing someone who imitates the feelings and dress of a devotee. So there's some benefit to it. There's some benefit to imitating that thing. We may not be on that platform. It may, not be real Prabhu. And sometimes devotees, they in a good sense, they say, well, I don't want to be a pretender. I want to be real. What can I say? But if you go down that road, where does that road lead you? Well, Prabhu, I can't pretend. I'm fallen. And I just like to break the regulated principles. And I like to, as my Guru Maharaj would say, I like to eat stool. And I don't want to eat nectar. I don't want to do bhajan. And you end up just giving up your spiritual life in the name of being honest. Leela Purushottam, do you have something you want to share?
I would like to ask for a clarification of that one of that lines there of the verse. Like, what's the connection? The purpose of the tongue is to glorify Lord's wonderful qualities, because in this world it is so difficult to meet pure devotee. And so what's the connection there? Like, what?
Saying Jiva, Bhumi Devi is speaking to Prahlad, and she's saying that Jiva phalam tvadrisha kirtanam hi. She's speaking to Prahlad. She's speaking about Prahlad, not about the Lord. She said the tongue is meant to glorify the devotees. That's what the tongue, because Sudurla bhavagavatahi loke. Because in this world, to find a pure devotee, it's Sudurlabha. It's a very, very rare thing.
Mm-hmm. So she's like pronouncing that she considers him to be a great devotee.
Yeah. She's glorifying him with great ecstasy. Okay. She's so happy because there's so many nasty people in this world who are causing Bhumi Devi so much trouble. So she's getting some happiness now, some relief by some personality like this who's present here. I'm trying to see if, looks like she's not present. Yashoda Pavani was present a little earlier. I guess she had to go somewhere.
Was, yeah. Yeah, but
So-
she mentioned so probably she had to move on because she mentioned that she might be able to join from the Delhi airport. So maybe she had to move to gate or something. I don't know.
She wrote that in the chat.
Probably she wrote it in the Pariprashna WhatsApp group before it even started. She wrote that she wasn't sure if she's able to join, that she's on traveling, but that it might work from the Delhi airport. Somewhere I read it.
Jagor, I saw your message. I do have a version of Prema-bhakti-candrika with a word for word. It's Ishwar's, and I'd be very happy to give it to you. And I won't even charge anything. So magnanimous.
Wow. I can give a donation though, right?
You can give me some kirtan for that. Okay. Anybody else? Is Lila, anything more?
I just wanted to say that I was happy to hear the detail of this Gopinath song that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was singing it for Tota Gopinath in Puri, which makes sense actually because he was local there. But I have quite some relationship to that song because when I joined, in Czech Yatra somehow this song was sung quite often. Subhadra Maharaj was singing it, and devotees were just following him. So I kind of grew up with this song. So I was very happy to have this detail that Bhaktivinoda Thakur sang it in a relationship to Tota Gopinath. It's so nice.
Yeah, I like thinking of Tota Gopinath. And when we go to see him, we like to remember Bhaktivinoda Thakur coming. If I can remember once I went to Tota Gopinath with him. Oh my God, he became so emotional. He just started weeping. And was offering Dandavats to Gopinath. And he turned to me and he said, so many exalted devotees have come before Gopinath. I mean, in that place, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was coming, Nityananda, Gadadhar, Sri Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and so many exalted devotees were coming and worshiping Gopinath. And their love, their devotion, just in the same way that the lusty glance, the glance of a lusty boy stays with a woman, in the same way that this loving glance of the devotees and their loving kirtans and prayers, they stay with Gopinath and they're there. You have to come. It's thick. It's a really thick fish. You can cut it with a butter knife in the air.
Good teaser. Thank you.
So let's go on to the next verse. And just, you remind me about the word for word file I can share that. It's just not convenient for me right now. So this is the 6th verse of the 2nd or 3rd song. Narottam Das Thakur is continuing. This song is such a such an open heart surgery. This song. Mosama Patita Nai Tubuvani Dekachai. We often comment that this song we like so much that Goranga Kuruna Koro Ami Dinahina Jani Mosama Patita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvani, that my dear Goranga, please give me your mercy in all the 3 worlds, as no one is fallen as I am. And that song is accredited to Narottam Das Thakur. My friend Brijvasi Prabhu wrote an article about that song in Russian language, and he does what scholars do. He's a good scholar, but he was a little disparaging about the idea of it being written by Narottam, because almost 100% it was not written by Narottam Das Thakur. So he was being a little dismissive of the song. But I told him, what's the problem that's the culture in India amongst the Vaishnavas at that time. If they were inspired by something from Narottam Das Thakur or Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami or someone else, they might write a song that has a similar mood, and they put Narottam's name because they don't want to put their name. They don't feel qualified with it. So in this song, this seems clear to me, this is where the author, whoever that author was, got his inspiration from. Mosama Patita Nahi Tribhuvani Deka Chai, that you won't find anyone as fallen as me in all the three worlds. Lila Purushottam-bhai, you want to add something else?
I've heard you saying this so many times, and I always have one thought to it. So I have to express it and ask you for for help. I just can't see the act of humility in it, actually, because I can. It always brings me the thoughts that if I am a Vaishnava of a lower status, I mean, not so famous Acharya as Narottam Das Thakur, and I write down under the text that it was written by Narottam Das Thakur, I may very easily hurt his reputation if it would be wrong, if it would be some low-class poetry or not properly Siddhantic, not properly Rasic. So isn't it rather, like, I can appreciate how you present it, that it's like out of a gratitude to the author, but I would never dare to do so, you know, like to write a poem and sign it with the name of my spiritual master or your name, written by Madhavananda Das. It would be like, wow, how could I dare to even think so?
Well, yeah, so you're pointing something out. You're directly saying something, but you're also indirectly saying something. What you're indirectly saying is that he's very confident. He's very, very confident and very bold to be able to say that. It's like we were reading in Prema-bhakti-candrika a few days ago. We were reviewing on Tuesday how Narad Muni comes before Uddhava in Dwarka, and he says, you are the best devotee because you're always close to Krishna, and Krishna takes his meals with you, and he asks advice from you, and this and that. And what was Uddhava's response? Uddhava said, yeah, it's true. And he's just being honest. He's just being simple. Yeah, it's true, but there's someone much, much greater. So implicit in your comment, which is it's more of an observation, which you're making. It's a valid observation. So we can observe that the author of that song is so confident that what I'm saying, because obviously he reveres Narottam Das Thakur, otherwise he wouldn't use his name. And if he's not confident that the content, he's not confident that the content of the song is authorized and is bona fide, he wouldn't dare to put his name. So he must be very confident. And there's a kind of ecstatic ecstasy, just like Uddhava. Yes, you're right. It's true, but like this. And so what it says to me about the unknown author of that song is that he's just really gotten absorbed in the songs of Narottam Das Thakur and in the mood of Narottam Das Thakur. And in his heart, he's so confident with that. And there's a kind of confirmation that comes in the heart of the devotee, which we can call it confirmation, we can call it confidence, or we could say that it's actually instruction from the Lord, an agya, where maybe he's gotten this instruction from Narottam Das Thakur, you do this thing. And that's also that implicit observation that we see in that song is an important instruction for us too, that we need to come to that point, and we can come to that point where we just become one with the service of our Gurudev, with the heart of our Gurudev, and in that oneness which Rupa Goswami speaks about. What's the shloka? Can you tell me? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He says something Guru Seva, and I should remember that word.
Oh, yeah, Vishrambena Guru Seva.
Vishwambena Guru Seva. That when we're doing Guru Seva in such an intimate way, the disciple becomes Vishramba, and then the disciple becomes so confident. Otherwise, how in the world can a devotee preach? How can he go out on the street anywhere and proclaim that I know something, I'm going to get something to you? How could Srila Prabhupada come to the West? But because he's Vishrambena Guru, he's doing the service in such an intimate way, he's become so empowered, he has this confidence. And that comes. Is that helpful?
This is very nice. This is very nice. I was also, it brought me to think that it might be act of humility in a way that although he can fully reflect the mood of Narottam Das Thakur and even presented it like compose the poetry which is perfectly in the mood of Narottam Das Thakur. So in order to not compete with the glory and fame of Narottam Das Thakur, you rather prefer to sign it with the name of Narottam Das Thakur so that the credit goes to him, and there is no one like new, oh, look at this one, he also writes nice as Narottam Das Thakur. So in that sense, one could consider it like act of humility or
I remember once I was invited to give a talk at a program at this museum in Kolkata, the program the Gaudiya Mission put on. And they had one professor from Benares University, a lady, and she'd done her thesis in Jiva Goswami. And so she was speaking about Jiva Goswami in this presentation. That sounds very nice. But what she was saying is that Jiva Goswami, actually, he's presenting Mayavad. And he has a Mayavad conclusion, and that was her thing. So she couldn't really understand Jiva Goswami, obviously. And who really understands Jiva Goswami? And if you look at Jiva Goswami's writings, I was just thinking Jiva Goswami, I remember that lady. She's not really connected with my point I want to make now, but Jiva Goswami, if you look at his Lagu Vaishnav Toshini, his Sanatana Goswami wrote Brihad Vaishnav Toshini, the big commentary on the Bhagavatam, and Jiva Goswami wrote Lagu Vaishnav Toshini. And what is that Lagu Vaishnav Toshini? About 80 or 90% of the time, it's just word for word, Sanatana Goswami. Someone may ask them, then what is he doing? And at least he should say Sanatana Goswami says, but he's presenting it as Lagu Vaishnav Toshini. So there's a kind of humility there, a kind of faithfulness there that I don't have anything to say. And of course, the other point is, I'm sure 100%, definitely there's so many things he can say. And if you read his commentary, it's very packed. There's so many things you could unpack. You could add dates, you could add other names and other details. Any common devotee could do that. What to speak of Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami, he's just giving us what Sanatana Goswami is saying. If you look in the Sandarbhas, so often Jiva Goswami is quoting Sridhar Swami's Bhavarta-dipika. And again, that's the first thing he does pretty much as a rule. When he presents different verses from the Bhagavatam and his Sandarbhas, he presents Sridhar Swami's Bhavarta-dipika. And again, what is the necessity of doing that? He could present his own commentary. But we know the pastime with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Vallabhacharya. And how Mahaprabhu, Vallabhacharya, very proud, well, I have my own commentary. I haven't touched on Sridhar Swami. And Mahaprabhu wasn't pleased with that. It's a difficult thing for us to understand. In our pride, we want to have our own conception. But the perfection of life is when we can just be an instrument. And we can just be a pipe for our Gurudev and for the previous acharyas. Sometimes. Okay, let's go on. This next verse I have, there's a lot more I have to say about it too. So, Mosama Patita Nahi Tribhuvani Dekichai. Nobody's ever seen anyone as fallen as myself. My dear Lord, So you look, you do a survey of all the three worlds. Nai Tribhuvani Deki Chai. You won't find anyone as fallen as myself. So my dear Lord, here's the deal, okay? I'm really, really fallen, but I'm going to make a deal with you. Narottama Pavana Namadhara. You should have a new name. They call you Patita Pavan. You should be known as Narottam Pavan, because Mosamo Patita Nai. There's nobody as fallen as me. So now Namadhara, you take this new name that you're Narottam Pavan. You're the purifier of Narottam Das Thakur. And he says, Gushika Samsari Nama Patita Pavana Shama. And therefore, let it be known, Gushika, let's do kirtan and go all throughout the material world and speak about how my Lord, how your name, Petit Pavan Shama. And as we spoke before, I think it was in this session when we spoke about the meaning of the word sham and how sham means to attract the mind. Was it in Prema-bhakti-candrika? Maybe that was in one of our sessions. Maybe that was one of our Gambhira sessions. I have to think about that.
Yeah, either Gambhira or Prema-bhakti-candrika.
This is Prema-bhakti-candrika. I wanted to share.
It wasn't this, Prabhu, last time.
Was this in this?
It wasn't,
this?
Yeah, last week.
So Gushika Sangsari Nama Patita Pavana Sham. That my dear Lord, may you be known throughout, may your name be glorified throughout the material world. That you're Patita Pavana Sham. That you're the deliverer of the fallen. You're Shama. And Shama means that personality who's attracting everyone. Nija Dasa Koto Giridhara. And he's saying, therefore, O Giridhari, please make me your own servant. So what is he referring to here? I thought we had this on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and show this again. Mosama Patita Nahi Tribhuvani Deki Chai. There's no one as fallen as me in all the three worlds. You can't find Narottama Pavana Namadhara. So my Lord, you take this name, you're Narottam Pavan. Gushika Samsari Nama Patita Pavana Sham. May your name be glorified throughout the world. Your Patita Pavana Sham. That you're the deliverer of the fallen and you're the attractor of the souls. Nija Dasa Koto Giridhari. So then the Lord says, okay. All right, so then I'll deliver you. But what does it mean to deliver you? What do you want? We don't want just liberation. We don't want just mukti. We want service. Sanatana Das Thakur replies, Nija Das Koto Giridhara. I want to become your servant. Now, why does he use the word Giridhara? He could say Mukunda, you're the person who gives liberation. He could say Shama again. He could say so many different names of Krishna he could use. Every word, as Afrakamambu used to tell us all the time, every word has so much purport. So why is he using the word Giridhara here? This would be a big discussion if we discuss this fully. So he's speaking about the service of Giridhari. By saying Giridhar, that you who are the lifter of Govardhan Hill, he's evoking the pastime of Krishna, stopping the worship of Indra and promoting the worship of Giriraj, and how Indra became very angry and he sent the Samvardhika clouds to destroy Braj. And so to protect the people of Braj, Krishna held up Govardhan Hill on the finger of his left hand. Therefore, he's Giridhar. So Narottam Das Thakur, he's saying that Nija Dasa Koto Giridhar. Giridhar, you please protect me. Just as you're holding up Govardhan Hill and protecting the Brijbasis from the terrible storm, the Samvardhika cloud, which destroys the universe that Indra sent. So also you give me the shade of the umbrella of your lotus feet and protect me, because there's so many enemies like lust and anger and things which are these terrible some vertical clouds, and they're coming and they're attacking me. It's such a very, very terrible thing. So also he's, by singing like this, Narottam Das Thakur, he's indicating something, I think, of the first verse. When I see this, I immediately think of Govardhan Basa Prarthana Dasa. So let's go there from Raghunath Das Goswami. Very beautiful verse, and see some of the similarities in this verse to what Narottam Das Thakur is saying. Well, first of all, when we comment on this verse, we always point out the very first word indicates that Giriraj's best worship is a devotee. That Narottam Das Thakur, he's praying, Nija, oh my dear Giriraj, Nija Pati, your Lord, your Pati, your Lord, Nija Pati, Bhuja Dandach, Chatra Bhavam Prapadya. He made you into a chatra, he made you into an umbrella. And his arm was like the handle of that umbrella. Krishna was doing it. So in other words, immediately in the very first verse, Raghunath Das Goswami is establishing a difference between Giriraj Govardhan and Krishna. First thing that he says, Nijapati. And then he speaks about this problem with Indra. And this is what I see when Narottam Das Thakur is saying that Nijadasa Tomada, Nijadasa Giridhara, that he's praying, you please, Nijadasa Kodara Giridhara, you please make me into your servant, O Giridhara. So he says here, pratihata. Pratihata means to destroy, it means to stop. And what is he stopping? Pratihata mada drishta danda devendra garba. The devendra garba, that person who's the deva indra, or the lord of the gods, lord of the devatas, indra, his pride, his garba. And that pride, he says, has three different aspects, mada drishta and udanda. I often speak about it. It's such a beautiful verse from Raghunath Das Goswami. Mada, this pride makes us intoxicated. So Narottam Das Thakur, he's praying to Krishna as Giridhar. Giridhar, this is what you do. Your intrinsic quality, the intrinsic quality of Giriraj Govardhan is that he destroys the pride of Indra. And he destroys these three aspects of pride, the first of which is mada. Actually, mada, drishta, and udanda are all synonyms of garba. So you could say, in one sense, he uses the same word, same point 4 times in this verse. But they all have a little different meaning. Mada means intoxication. Indra has become so intoxicated that he's got all these apsaras and he's got this wonderful Varuni beverage and things. So he's just become completely intoxicated with that he's become drishta. Drishta means impudent. Or here the translation is emboldened. He's become very bold, very drishta. Drishta means that someone is drishta when they speak up to their parents and they say, I don't think you should do that, or I disagree with you. If you speak like that to your parents or to your guru, that's someone who's drishta. And that's a type of pride. Udanda, danda means a stick. Danda is something we chastise. Udanda means someone who's standing up and proclaiming himself. Udanda, just like if you stand up in a crowd with a stick up in the air, you would do that. Hey, I want everybody's attention right now. You're holding up that stick, and the stick implies that I'm going to chastise you if you don't listen. That the stick implies that I'm better than all of you. Udanda literally means that the stick which is up. This is Devendra Garba. And Giriraj Govardhan, Pratihata, he's destroying that. So my dear Giriraj, therefore, Atula Pritula Shaila Srini Bhupa Priyamme, you're the best. Pritula Shaila, Atula Pritula Shaila, you're the best of all the different mountains. Nija Nikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam. And in the commentary, which is accredited to Baladi Vidyabhushan, he comments that depending on how you do the Sandhi, here the word Govardhana and Tvam are divided into 2 words. And so it indicates that please give me residence near you, Dehi Govardhana Tvam. But if you don't do the Sandhi in that way, because in the original, if you read Devanagari, the word Govardhana Tvam, it's one word. But in these words, depending on how you break it up, the meanings will be a little bit different. And how you break it, that's called Sandhi. So if you break it in two words, Govardhana Tvam, then it means it give me residence near you. But if you give it the two words together, Govardhanatva, Atvam, just like we say Vaishnavatva, Patitatva, the quality of being fallen, Patitatva, the quality of being a Vaishnava, Vaishnavatva. Atva means a quality. So Baladev, the commentary credited to Baladev, says that another meaning is that Raghunath Das Goswami, one meaning is he's saying, please let me stay near you. Another meaning he's saying is, let me have the same quality that you have. And that quality that you have is Nija Pati Bhuja Dandach Chatra Bhavam Prapadya, that you become an insignificant chatra, an umbrella being held up by the hand of your Lord. In other words, the Lord is using you. You become an instrument for Krishna. And as an instrument of Krishna, only as Krishna's instrument, you can't do it on your own, unless Krishna's holding you up. But as Krishna's instrument, then Pratihata Madhadrishto Danda Devendra Garba, you're breaking the pride of Devendra Garba, the pride of Indra, which is full of Madhadrishta and Udanda. And therefore, Tula Pritula Shaila Shemi Bhupa Priyamame, you're the greatest of mountains. And I want that kind of quality from you. So these are three aspects of pride that Raghunath Das Goswami indirectly speaks to us about. And we find a similar statement in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is something I speak about quite often. Some of you probably heard this, but it's just such a beautiful point. I really want to focus on it. Let's look in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He says, Dukkha Trapsa Parada Jara Norjitam Tudinata. These are three things which destroy pride. When we have this dukkha, this trasa, and aparada or jar, then anorjitam to dinata, we develop this dainya, dinata, we develop this humility. When we think, we become depressed, dukkha. And so many times we're depressed, and sometimes devotees say, well, depression is not good, it's not healthy. But depression, when it's directed toward Krishna, is very good. Trasa means that we're afraid. So Indra, he's experiencing some dukkha. Why? Because he's got all these beautiful women all around him. And all these beautiful women say, Indra, you're just so handsome and you're so powerful, and you defeated all those demons all by yourself. You're just so amazing. And now he's being defeated by a 5-year-old boy. And so he's really having a bad day. Indra becomes really depressed. Now the girls are not going to be impressed with me anymore. So dukkha. And then Tras comes and you realize, oh my God, Krishna, he's going to destroy me. Krishna's so powerful because aparada jar. I've committed some terrible offense. I tried to mass murder all the Krishna's most dear, intimate friends. When we begin to think in that way, when we accept these three things, dukkha, trasa, parada, then anorjitam tadinaka, it gives birth to dainya. It gives birth to humility. So these three things are wanted. They're very, very important. In the Udyoga Parva of the Mahabharata, there's a verse that I've tried to break apart over the years in the Sanskrit dictionary. It hasn't been very easy for me. I need to sit down with somebody whose Sanskrit's better. But let's look a little bit at it. This verse describes 18 gradual effects of pride. What will happen to us if we have pride? And this is what happened to Indra, even though Krishna asserts in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, Indradi Vyakalam Lokam Vidayanti Yuge Yuge, that I come again and again to protect Indra. Still, although Indra is such a personality, he's in charge of all the demigods, meaning not just that he's in charge of these guys in the heavenly planets, but meaning he's in charge of the principles of religion. Meaning he's, we often give the example, he's like a GBC or a temple president. But still, Indra became degraded. So there's 18 faults, according to the Mahabharata, which take place, which come to a proud person. Let's look at these and contemplate this a little bit. Mados tadasa dosha shat, 18 faults of pride. Puraya sa prakirtita. So this is what happens to a pride person. Loka dvesham. The first thing is that dvesha means hatred. That common people are going to hate you. People just don't like you anymore. And I don't care how good a kirtan leader you are, how many slokas you know, how good a cook you are, how rich you are, or whatever. But if you're a proud person, people just don't like you. Loka dvesha. Pratikuyam abhyarshaya mrishavachaha. I can't follow all of this in the Sanskrit so well. Pratikuyam abhyasraya seems like perhaps he imagines his pride to be challenged by others because he always acts in different ways toward people. What does that mean? A proud person thinks that just like if you go to certain parts of America or practically any big city, and you go to a low-class part of town, and you sit and you look at some person on the bus, a low-class person, for a while, you're just checking them out. Then what do they do? At least in America, I don't know about in Czech, but Czech may be a more high-class place. But in a lot of places, in low-class places in America, they say, "Hey, man, what the hell are you looking at?" So people who are proud persons is a nature, even though someone is not actually, but they're imagining that their pride is challenged. And so then they act in some negative way toward people. And Mrishavacha, they speak some different types of criticism, vacha, some slander of people. And then they don't let's just go ahead and read the English here. They don't hesitate to lie to people in different ways so that no one will be honored like him. I don't want to say names, but it reminds me of one prominent politician in America who's always telling everybody, I'm the best at this, and it was the most amazing thing, and I had the most people come, and I had the most votes, and I'm the most popular, and this and that. And he just lies, outright lies in so many different ways. It's the nature of a pride person because he doesn't want anyone else to get that kind of respect that he gets. So he becomes very, very attached to that position. And he's eager after that subject, which is pride lies, and I'm the best of the politicians, I'm the greatest devotee. Sometimes it's like that, if you travel and you're giving classes and people say, "Oh, you're such a good speaker," and things, then some pride comes to the heart. And then when you go to some other temple or something, and there's someone there who's a much better speaker than you, someone there who's a much more elevated devotee than you, then you become disturbed by that. And then you want, because you want that respect so much, and you're eager after the subject in which your pride lies. You want to become known as a best speaker, as the best cook, as the best pujari, as the most humble devotee. we invest our pride in being the most of something. Srila Prabhupada once told the devotee, said, "You're not the most of anything." He said, "I'm the most fallen," Prabhupada. He said, "You're not the most anything." Because we can also have that kind of pride. I'm the most humble. And if anybody speaks against his desired object, his anger is ignited like fire. Let's see, can we see that in the Sanskrit? Atahani vividascha matsaryam prani pidanani. I think that's that matsaryam refers to that deception that he's doing with other persons. Irsha mohati vadascha samya nosha vasuyata. Anyway, I'm having a hard time with the Sanskrit here. So he becomes subservient to people who kindle the firewood of his pride. So then he gets a lot of chelas. And we see that it's been a problem. Ranjan Maharaj once commented to me that he said, I've seen too many of my godbrothers become guru and fall down because they don't keep association with their godbrothers. All they have around them, they surround themselves with a bunch of sycophants, with a bunch of disciples. And in the name of helping their disciples, they just surround themselves with people who are always glorifying them. And it's a very pleasurable thing. And you don't want to be around anybody else who's going to say anything bad about you. So proud people constantly slander others. They're constantly saying bad things about other people. That's their nature. And vessels of different kinds of deception. I think here it means, the English is not very clear, that they are vessels of different types of deception. Because when you, there's a poem we sometimes recite, a robe of seeming truth and trust, hid the dagger of deception. I think that's how it goes. That we have this robe of seeming truth and trust, but underneath is the dirk of defamation. That's what's said, the dirk of defamation. Dirk means a knife, the knife of defamation. Because we have this robe we want to be known by before everybody, but people are going to criticize. If people see who I really am, then that's bad. So I can't take off this robe. I have to cover myself with the robe. And then if anybody picks up the robe to look what's, then I'm going to take this knife and I'm going to cut them. In other words, if someone sees my real qualities, or before they see my real qualities even, I want to take this knife and I want to criticize them. So that person's constantly slandering others, and they're vessels of different kinds of deception. In order to preserve his pride, he wastes a lot of money. There's this on legal challenges and so on. It reminds me so much of what's going on in America, in the politics right now, that people are so proud. How dare you defame me in front of everybody? So they waste so much money on legal challenges and that. And they're constantly engaged in quarrel. Envy of someone else's prosperity is always present in the heart of the proud, and they always inflict pain on others. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings about this in one of his songs, which I don't remember the Bengali. Prabhupada used to sing it song quite often. That this is my nature, that part of dukkha sukhi, something is that when I see someone else's unhappiness, I become happy. When I see someone else is happy, I become envious. That's the nature of an envious person. And they're always inflicting pain on others. And sometimes they do it with a smiling face, but their heart is so crooked. Their heart always burns in the fire of envy and is thus bewildered by delusion and ignorance. The proud always violates protocol. In other words, they're the kind of persons who raise their hand. Protocol means Vedic etiquette, Vedic Maryada. That they challenge the sannyasi in public. Maharaj, you said this thing, but it's not really true. It's like this or that. That's violating protocol. Even though that person may be wrong and you might be right, you're wrong. Because it's not appropriate for you to speak out like that. What's more important, the information is not the most important thing. What's the important thing is the bhav that is being spoken. And you, by speaking out in such a way, in a proud way, violating the proper etiquette and challenging a senior person, the nature of a pride person is terrible. They don't know what's good or bad. They're always absorbing violence against others. And because they have all these terrible vices, an intelligent person, sadaheta vigarita, namadeta sadaheta vigarita, that I can understand. Tasmad pragya, a wise person, an intelligent person, namadeta sada, always, heta vigarita, always gives up that false pride. So this is what we're learning from Narottam Das Thakur. It's such a very, very important thing. Pride is so very bad. There's a conversation Srila Prabhupada had in his garden in Los Angeles in 1972. If you go to Los Angeles, you really got to go to that garden. You can see Rukmini Dwarkadish, you can see the old press maybe, you can see so many things there. But that garden is a very, very sweet, special place. And let's look at one little passing comment Prabhupada made in the garden. Unnecessary pride is very bad. Oh, I become very advanced in Krishna consciousness. That we should never think. So it's a very, very detrimental thing, but it's a very dangerous thing in our society because so many times devotees, they equate preaching with making a good show of yourself. And then that, because there's some, we do that. We make someone a temple president. We give them this position or that. It's very, very dangerous. Let's read another statement from Srila Prabhupada. This is another statement Prabhupada made in another garden area. This is from a lecture on the 27th of June, 1976, New Vrindavan. Leela Purushottam's asking about the list of 18 symptoms. That's from the Mahabharata, Udyoga Parva. If you remind me, you always just remind me in WhatsApp, and I can send these things happily. See that verse. So let's look at the statement of Srila Prabhupada. Brilliant Prabhupada statement. A devotee is never envious of another devotee. Right? That's a devotee. And if he is envious, it means he's not a devotee. Tadadineshi Maitri. One who's devotee, we have to make friendship with him. How can we hate them? We can't hate the devotee. So if we see some hatred or some envy arising in our heart toward the devotees, even though we may have a big, big position like Indra and in charge of maintaining religious principles in the whole universe, it's a very big position. Still, if we become envious of the devotees, and this is what Indra started doing, he became intoxicated. Mada, Drishta, Nanda, Devendra, Garbha, he got that pride, thinking that I can, it's okay for me to demand worship from the Brij Basis, although the Brij Basis are millions of times greater than me. Yeah. Parasuki Duki, Amara Jivan. The prophet loved that song, Amara Jivan. This is the story of my life, Amara Jivan. Very beautiful song. So there's a little story in this regard that once the ocean became proud. Excuse me, the river became proud, and it went to before the ocean and started speaking to the ocean. And the river very proudly asked the ocean, he said, look, this is your lucky day. Here I am, I'm come before you. I'm the powerful river, and I can bring you whatever you'd like. What would you like? You tell me. I can bring you houses, I can bring you animals, I can bring you cars, I can bring you humans, trees, anything that you want. We see rivers when they start overflowing, they become so powerful like that. And the river one day started proudly speaking to the ocean. You tell me whatever you want, I'll uproot it and I'll bring it with you. So the ocean understood that the river's got some ego problems. So the river said, the ocean told the river, well, yeah, actually there is something I would like, you know. Could you bring me some grass? Can you uproot some grass and bring it to me? And the river said, is that all? What, grass is so insignificant, that's nothing. I can bring you skyscraper buildings, I can bring you cars and buses and so many different things. What is grass? It's such a simple thing. And so then the river overflooded and it started going through the field. And the river was exerting its full strength against the grass. But the grass didn't get uprooted. And the river kept trying and trying and trying. And he couldn't do it. So finally the river gave up. And then the river became a little humbled. Dukkha trasa parada narjitam didinata. It became dukkha. He became a little sad, which means this is good for him. He became a little bit humble. And he came before the ocean. He said, look, I'm powerful. I can uproot trees and huge buildings, mountains and everything. But whenever I try to force the grass just bends down. I mean, I have to pass over it, empty-handed. And so the ocean listened to the river, and the ocean smiled. And he said that those persons who are hard and rigid, like mountains and trees, they're very easily uprooted. But if someone learns the quality of grass, which is humility, that person can't be disturbed even by the most terrible windstorms or a terrible overflooding river. It's just not possible at all. So Narottam Das Thakur is teaching us like that, about the importance of giving up pride. Why don't we look again at this verse, and we'll go ahead and wrap up. The devotees can make some comments. Kami mora hata chitta. It's so beautiful what he's saying. The Kami mora, this lust that I have, hata chitta, it's killing me. It's killing my consciousness. Nahi jani nija hita. And I don't know what to do and what not to do. Manana naguchi durbasana. My mind can't conquer over this wicked desires, this durbasana. Morinate ange kuru tumi vansha kolpatadu. So my dear Lord, please, Morinate, you're my nata. You're my controller. You're my Lord. I'm not seeing Maya Devi is my controller. But he's implying by saying, Morinate, you're my nata. You're my Lord. Not anyone else. Not Maya. Because you're my Lord. That angi kuru, you make me, you accept me as part of, as an anga. Or anga means, again, part of your own body. You accept me as an intimate devotee. And if you tell me you can't do that, that I'm not qualified for it, then I have to say, Tumi Vansha Kalpatadu. That you're a Vansha Kalpatadu. You're a wish-fulfilling tree. You fulfill the desires of everyone. And if you do this thing, Narottam says, Karuna Dekuka Sarvajan. If you give this mercy to me, then Dekuka Sarvajana, then everybody's going to know how wonderful you are. So we'll go ahead and stop there. Shri Narottam Das Thakur Ki Jai. Anybody have any reflections or comments you want to share?
Absolutely, Prabhu.
Okay.
You reminded me of this is part in Jaiva Dharma where he says truth, humility, compassion, and forgiveness are 4 special qualities that are included in bhakti. So I was thinking that in other
That's beautiful.
truth, humility, compassion, and forgiveness.
And that's in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you said?
That's in Jaiva Dharma.
Uh-huh.
I'm looking at it right now, and he says in the same chapter too earlier that it says it seems that one cannot be a Vaishnava without humility and compassion, and then Babaji says that is quite true.
I would connect that also with that statement that we were reading from the Hari Bhakti Sutta Dvaya, where Bhumi Devi is glorifying Prahlad Maharaj. And then Sanatana Goswami gives the purport of that, what Bhumi Devi is saying, just by seeing you, this is a perfection of my eyes, it's perfection, touching you is perfection of my touch, glorifying you is a perfection of my tongue. And so he says that this Twadrisha, or connecting with you, seeing you, I just see a devotee. What the speaker is seeing a devotee, he says just seeing someone who imitates a devotee, or the dress of a devotee is perfection. So those qualities are there in bhakti. And if we don't see those qualities coming up in us, so you said the truth, humility, compassion, forgiveness, then are we really doing bhakti? We're just becoming good musicians.
Yeah. And I think another place in Jaiva Dharma, he also says that that those qualities can only be fully present in the Vaishnavas, because they don't they don't manifest. Yeah, they don't manifest fully unless bhakti is there along with them. I thought that was interesting.
That makes perfect sense too.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, I really like how when you speak about the Gopinath bhajan, and you always mention that he's praying to Gopinath about all these things, and sometimes people are thinking, why are you praying to such a the deity of Prayojana to rid you of all your worldly anarthas. But I was really appreciating it because I was just reading about earlier today about your sadhya determines your sadhana, and without a clear goal, then you don't know how to go there. So he's even though he's manifesting this humility and showing us how a fallen person offers prayers, he's approaching Gopinath, because from the get-go he's saying, I know what I want, even though I'm such a wretched person. I can't, I'm shameless enough to state what it is that I want. Yeah, I really like that.
There's hope for us, huh?
Yeah.
What hope that we have. Thank you very much, Eugene. Yeah, it was a good reflection, wasn't it? Lila Purushottam Prabhu. Anybody else with anything you want to share? Manish Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Once again, thank you for an absolutely far out class. I can't find any other words to describe that. I wanted to ask test one reflection, and then ask you to further elaborate on one point. The first being the reflection is that as I was listening, I was actually rewatching one of your previous classes that you gave, and I remembered that you were talking, I think it was through the airport or shopping mall, when you were just reciting that verse constantly to keep yourself, from perhaps losing your mind, seeing all of the kind of shops and airports, etc. And then on the Balaram Jayanti side, we were talking about Balaram being the source of our spiritual life, our spiritual strength, but also that we need to pray and cry, for their help to overcome our material desires and problems, etc. And then it also got me thinking today, again, we're talking here that Krishna, you're the source of, not only are you the source of all the problems, because everything is ultimately you and your energies, but also you're the solution. So it really is that we just need to turn our cheek away from thinking, Krishna, why have you put me in this situation? Versus, Krishna, you can help me get out of this situation. One is kind of blaming Krishna, and one is asking for his help. And they're two very subtle moods, and one is very different. And I just found that, I just wanted to test that with you, and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I would suggest there's another way of thinking too, and that is, Krishna, I belong to you. Whatever you want to do, you can destroy me if you want. With the lightning, with the Chetaka bird, there's a prayer that was offered that the Chetaka bird, which is flying, is just praying to the cloud, please give me a little bit of water, but the cloud just gives a lightning bolt. Okay, that's all you're going to give me, then I'll take the lightning bolt. So in the same way, Ganesham Krishna, please give me some nectar, but whatever you want to give me, if you want to give me a lightning bolt of chastisement, or you want to give me some nectar, I just belong to you. Self whatsoever. We were speaking the other day about renunciation, and in that connection, we were speaking about Jagadananda Pandit from Era, and the role that Jagadananda Pandit fulfills there. If you look at that, it's oftentimes connected with renunciation of Mahaprabhu sleeping on the floor, not wanting the bed that Jagadananda offered, not wanting the oil that Jagadananda offered, etc. And that renunciation, though, of Mahaprabhu in the Era, it's not done out of pride. It's just that it's not even done consciously. Sometimes we want to become renounced, and we think if I'm renounced, then I'm going to be famous and everybody will respect me. But the renunciation of the gopis, which is Mahaprabhu's renunciation, is there just because it's so absorbed in Krishna. And they're not even thinking that I'm going to offer this to you, Krishna. They're just so absorbed in thinking of Krishna, they're just already there. It's everything. So that's my reflection.
Thank you. That's actually quite beautiful. And I think the second question I had was, when you had the smaller verse which spoke about the sorrow and I think it was destroying pride and the 3 ways to destroy. It said something along the lines of fear of offense, and then it was sorrow. I was thinking immediately that, is it the way that your pride is destroyed? Does that give rise to your mood, in the sense that if you've got fear of offense, is that mood of awe and reverence, versus sorrow, which is perhaps giving birth to a slightly different type of destruction of pride and makes you humble in a slightly different way? Could you elaborate on the two of those?
It's an interesting comment. Depending on our consciousness and our absorption, our self-identity, we'll deal with that dukkha in different ways. It's a fact. And Indra dealt with it in a certain way because he still had this abhiman that I'm an important person and I'm the king of the devatas and whatever like that. But the gopis, they also dealt with dukkha in another way. Their dukkha was Krishna leaving Vrindavan. And they also felt themselves to be fallen and offenders and things, but they didn't deal with it in the same way that Indra dealt with it. Their way of dealing with it was much, much more intimate than Indra. Indra's way of dealing with it was much more official. Kind of, okay, look, I'm really sorry. I know it's bad what I did. Yeah, I've got Surabi in front of me. Don't destroy me. Please forgive me. He's thinking about himself. He's worried about himself. The gopis, they're just so, they've also, because in that separation, humility also comes. But in that their humility is such that they think, I can't live without you. There's no purpose in living, and they become suicidal. And then when they become suicidal, they're about to kill themselves. And this is discussed in different ways. It's another topic. I'm just dealing with one facet of the jewel right now. I'm not trying to look at the whole thing, but just one aspect of it. Then they think further and they think, oh, I can't commit suicide because my body belongs to Krishna, and it'll cause Krishna unhappiness. When Krishna returns, he promised us, he said, Ayasya, I'm going to return. When Krishna returns to Vrindavan and he sees that we didn't wait, then he's going to be disappointed. He's going to think they didn't have faith in me. And then when Krishna hears that we killed ourselves, Krishna will feel sad. Because the gopis, just like we were mentioning about Uddhava told Narad Muni, yeah, that's the gopis, they understand that they've got something, that they're Krishna, but at the same time, it's paradoxical because they also think that they don't have anything. But they also recognize that we have something, and especially our Srimati, she has something. She just glances at you and you fall down on the ground, defeated. So they can't commit suicide. So they're dukkha trasa parada dinata. They also had dinata. They also have dina. That's one of the ecstatic symptoms which comes along with separation. But it's very, very different than the dinata of Indra. Is that helpful?
Yes, very. Thank you.
Gorni Thai Prabhu, you want to share something? My gosh, it's getting late there for you. It's getting close to 9:15, I think, at night right now.
Hare Krishna. Yes, it's 9:15 p.m. But we have a lot of programs here, so, and night and day is not so much different. No, in the monsoon, rain is just falling. So anyway, thank you. I'm very sorry that I came late because my Guru Maharaj arrived yesterday, so today was the first day, and he he brought together the boys, girls, and have a nice kirtan, very sweet kirtan. So naturally,
I would have canceled the class if I could go. I would have gone to Maharaj's kirtan. You're fortunate to go.
So anyway, and then we have a birthday party for one of the boy, and that's okay. But it's finished already. But yeah, I'm just I wanted to get any morsels, because just listening these kind of topics is always, you know, like cooling the burning heart, which is proud, which is maybe attached to material things. So thank you very much to be accepted like part of this group. So I have one reflection that I just in this week I started to study the Chaitanya Charitamrita by following Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj systematic classes, and he mentioned that after the Adi Leela finished, which is more or less it's a kind of introductory for the main goal of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then the Madhya Leela starts a very interesting way. And the first pastime which Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentioned is just at this point shows how important to become or being humble. And he shows these three persons, Haridas Thakur, Srila Rupa Goswami, and Srila Sanatana Goswami, how they are humble. And then what is the result of that? He mentioned that pastimes when Lord Chaitanya was singing this strange song, which no one could understand, but Srila Rupa Goswami understood. So he mentioned that that is the first teaching of Lord Chaitanya very systematically, and mentioned that if you get this humbleness, then you get a very special gift. Your heart also become able to reflect pure devotees' feelings. Otherwise not. Otherwise, so that's a hope for these fallen persons to have some reflection. And we have that experience very short time, but if we keep a humble mood and trying to become really humble, which you teach very nicely how to do that, then there is a very special effect, which a proud person will never get. And so that I wanted to mention, and I'm wondering what is your reflection?
Well, I'll give you a reflection of that. It reminds me of Radhastami Day in New Brajadam and a conversation I had with your Guru Maharaj. I was sitting in the class and the kirtan and kind of watching everything. And first of all, let's put this in perspective. We're always seeing things through the eye of our consciousness. We're not really seeing reality. We're seeing through the eye of our consciousness. And for me, I'm not a big social person. I don't do real good in big crowds. And so I'm kind of sitting there and I'm kind of, although I see so many friends and everybody's very loving, everything is so ecstatic. The kirtan is perfect, it's the best, and the deity dressing, everything is just so wonderful. It's just there's so many people there. So I was watching everything and I was being a little contemplative of it. And afterwards, I was kind of walking around a little bit, and Shiva Ram Maharaj was talking, many devotees were speaking to him. He gave a great class. And then at one point, he was kind of standing there alone. And I kind of walked over near him and he said, "Hey, Madhavananda." And so I went over and I thought, let me share with him my reflection. And I said, Maharaj, I was sitting here and I had this reflection on how my thought is, how fortunate are devotees who at an early time in their Krishna consciousness, they are able to connect with or make or be part of a small, intimate, nourishing sangha of like-minded friends. And without that, I said devotees become confused. And I kind of indirectly was pointing out the festival. You know, you get this big, big thing going on, and there's so many hundreds of people coming, and it's ecstatic. Everybody feels the ecstasy and the kirtan and everything, but then a kind of confusion comes because you don't feel fully satisfied. Because we cannot feel fully satisfied unless we're in a very loving, intimate sangha. And even though it may be a very big kirtan, a very, very big program, it's very wonderful, if we're not with loving, intimate devotees expressing some intimate thing, we don't feel fully satisfied. So I said, Samars, I was thinking like that. And with the Brahma thing, he looked at me and he said, yes. He said, that's what we're trying to do. And that little comment, I've really been meditating on that. How I saw how how I was being drishta. I was being impudent, you know? And maybe not in such an offensive way, but I was being a little impudent with Shiva Ramar's going, this is his program that he's put on, and I'm going, and I'm kind of like finding fault with it in a subtle way and saying it's better if we have a small intimate sangha. And then his response, that's what we're trying to do. And then I said, oh, and then I could understand something a little more. So anyway, that's a reflection on your comments. So Maharaj is trying to do that. That's what he's trying to do everywhere he goes. And you see how he's intimate. And I think, honestly speaking, if I can say something a little intimate, which may be above my pay grade, above my adhikar, I think that Shiva Maharaj is not the most social person by nature. And I've heard that from a lot of your senior God brothers and God sisters. So maybe I can say that by nature, but he's still trying to do that. And he's very, very intimate and sweet and loving with so many devotees, as I'm sure you're experiencing. That's my reflection.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Zagor made some written comment here. So, thank you for saving me from confusion. Hare Krishna. He's saying to Lila Purushottam. Anybody else with any reflections or comments?
Ask just on your point now. Prabhu, yeah. I was just thinking that because we've been discussing it with our, I don't know with whom I discussed it actually. Oh, anyway, with one Czech devotee about the Czech yatra, and I was proposing this point of the small intimate sanghas, but what made me think of exceptions was these bigger festivals, that they are meant to be like bigger in a sense, like a big number of devotees gathering together to please the Lord in a way, like for the Janmashtami, for Radhashtami. So that was is that because otherwise I'm on many levels with our group here, with our reading group, what we have with Czech devotees. I always this conviction of that absolute importance and benefit of these small intimate sanghas is just growing up in me, like I'm 100% convinced about it. But still, with these big festivals, I had that conception, like big festivals means even big number of devotees, and one doesn't really expect that intimacy, but expects that for that day you get something else. You get something like, you know how I don't want to put it too low, but something like what would be the English term, like anyway, like the momentum of having a big kirtan, you know, like Narad Muni, he's famous for the festivals, like there is in probably Narad Bhakti Panch, I don't know, somewhere there is connected with Narad Muni, that he claims that the festivals are like amazing tools to inspire devotees, and you know what quote I mean? Know the words?
Could be Narada Pancharatra.
Yeah, it's not at Pancharatra somewhere. But so I was thinking, like, probably these big days like Janmashtami, Gaur Purnima, Radhashtami, it is expected more or less that we will, I would say, like, lose that benefit of the small intimate sangha, but it's paid off by that experience of doing something like, let's say, extra spectacular, if that's the word, for the pleasure of the deities. Like we were for Janmashtami on Golokadham. Probably, if you would have a group of 5 people, you wouldn't make Jal Leela, you wouldn't make the Julan Yatra, and it's possible because there are many devotees who are taking responsibilities for the different parts of the program, and you cook the many preparations for the deities, and like that. And there is always devotees are asked to speak the katha, so maybe in that sense, although I also always agreed with you that to speak to bigger crowd, it's rather scary for someone who wants to share his heart, what he has for Krishna. Or so if 500 people is in front of you, it's quite difficult. It's impossible, actually. So in that sense, it makes the katha a little more official in a sense. But that was just I was thinking about like my thought on your thoughts on Radha.
Big festivals, the big festivals began with Kuturi Gram. And historically, Kuturi Gram, what was the thing that was good about that? Indologists, people who studied philosophy and history of India, commented that festival in Kuturi Gram was very important because it synthesized our movement. Although there were so many different devotees, there were a lot of different ideas, and they all came together, and they heard from Janava Mata, and she established the teachings of the Goswamis as the topmost. So otherwise, there'd be so many different groups and so many different ideas and things. I was also thinking, when you're saying that again, I was thinking about New Brajadam. I have to say, that festival was just so astonishing. They really picked out just the best kirtan leaders and brought them from all over the world. And you saw maybe some of the pictures I took of the deity, where they had pictures of the Asasakis behind Radharani. Everything is like complete, not just Rag Marg, but it's all Radhadasham, hardcore Radhadasham, the Abhishek, and in the morning after Mangal Artik, they have a Pushpa Abhishek, and they put, I don't know, 20 kgs or 100 kgs of flower petals over Radhasham Sundar. It was amazing. And they did it 2 days in a row. It was so sweet and so intimate, just a very sweet kirtan. So many very sweet, intimate things. And what's happening in that festival, it's really, as I said, not just Ragmarg, but it's really Radhadasham, that whole festival. And then Shiva Maharaj gave class. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. Now it's going to be like some, really hardcore Leela. And he didn't speak any Leela at all. All that he spoke was philosophy. In fact, he didn't even speak so much about Radharani. He spoke about Krishna. And he spoke about Shakti and Shaktiman. He read from a purport which spoke about how you first know the Shaktiman before you know Shakti. We know Krishna, and if we're knowing Krishna, we come to understand Radharani. And he was just speaking about that philosophy and how important that is. And I was kind of watching the whole thing, and just why is Maharaj trying to do, it's in such good taste. He knows so many beautiful things from our Goswamis, and that, and obviously it's reflected in the deity worship and the dressing and so many things. But in the Katha, it was kind of like, oh, here's just a lot of Siddhanta. And then I realized that it was really balanced. It was really needed, because it was so intense, the presentation, the deity worship and everything like that. If you didn't have this other along with it, then a lot of the neophyte devotees who were there, I think they would become sentimental. That's my reflection.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Let's see here. Barney Type of his comments. He's written some nice comments. Yeah, Rathayatra is the combination of sweetness and opulence. That's the wonderful thing about Rathayatra, the wonderful thing about Puri in general. Siddha Hari Prabhu, can we get to see your smiling, beautiful face?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thanks for my senses.
This is
Thank you,
what
Prabhu.
Bhumi meant when she said that just by seeing you, that's the perfection.
Okay. So I wanted to share a couple of things. One was first a reflection that I was thinking, like we hear that in Vrindavan, it's like a petal. It's like a petals of a lotus. They close and they open. So I was thinking, these prayers by Narottama Das Thakur, they're quite simple in some sense. But it's so amazing that how just like a petal of a lotus, you open it up, like it's a small thing, and then you have like a 20 pages of katha on each of these topics. Because I closely watch when you share screen, how many pages are there in the katha coming up? Because usually, you have a page for the verse, this verse, that verse. I noticed that in each of the kathas, you spend a lot of time picking up these different flowers and make like a bouquet of flowers as an offering to Narottama Das Thakur for his wonderful offering. It's like he has made an offering and you are making another offering to him, hanging in my bouquet. So that's so nice to see that. Thank you for doing that, Prabhu. And the second reflection at that point is that as Gaunatha Prabhu was mentioning, that this katha is so enlivening, so like a food for the soul. And I was thinking that although I'm practicing Krishna consciousness, but unless one hears these words of the acharyas, the heart again and again goes back to the old mundane words, because I'm still not purified. So I really appreciate that you pick out these words of great sages from Puranas, from the Goswamis, and just by hearing them, all of them will be simple concepts, which I may have heard sometimes before also, but the way you present it and then hearing them again, it just enlivens the heart. So thank you for doing this, Prabhu. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I have to be a little honest at this point. There's a beautiful phrase in the fourth canto of the Bhagavatam, Peter Maharaj prays to the Lord, that Vinoda Patram uses that word. We often comment on that. Vinoda Patram. Vinoda Patram means coming before an offering handful of water. When we go to the Ganga, we offer Ganga Jal, which is the Ganga itself. But if we break a word up into two, as I recall, Vinoda Patram, then it means someone who's a joker. And Prabhupada comment, which says, in other words, if someone thinks that they can repay what they've gotten from their guru in any way, they're just a joker. And the only way to repay that is by offering what we've gotten. And I wish that I could offer what I've gotten from my Guru Maharaj. Oh my God. The things that he spoke, I can't even touch on. But one thing I can try is the fact that he taught us that we should be thoughtful. And we should, Fakimurabhu also taught us that, and that every verse and every word has so much deep things. And I'm looking and I see 1 or 2 inches deep. You think it's very nice. If my Guru Maharaj would see 100 feet deep, I see 1 or 2 inches. But we should try and we should look, because those things are there, but it doesn't belong to us. Anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Jagor, is it a fact that just getting to see Siddha Hari Prabhu is a perfection of the eyes? You tell me.
It's quite true. He's very handsome.
I wanted to share something regarding Jagor too. There's a hidden secret behind my happiness. I was reminded today that when I came back from India this year, was kind of quite cold, and Jagar Prabhu was staying here with us in the farm. So he has started this thing called every Saturday. He was organizing this men's Sangha Kirtan, which is like a small group of Kirtan, which will have for 3 to 4 hours every Saturday. And it was like the most sweet Kirtan which I've ever experienced. And today you were mentioning how, in the small Sanghas is where you feel the love and appreciation and nourishment. So I really appreciate, Jai Gorjan Prabhu holding that and nourishing me for many months with this wonderful Kirtan. I'm sure you have an experience of that already in Puri and other places, but it is getting sweeter and sweeter as the time goes by.
When I hear that from you, I have to confess that I feel a little unhappy that you're all so selfish that you didn't let me know this was going on. Maybe we would have just come part of those kirtans or something. Gosh, nobody informed us about that.
Well, yeah, everyone must come to Puri now.
That's a fact, because when we're in a big group, the biggest problem is that not everybody understands us. And they just see us externally in this way or that way, or they see us as a threat sometimes, or they see, because you spoke strongly at one point, they think you're a radical or this or that. They don't understand you. And the intimacy is gone, and the love and nourishment is not there. But when it's in a small group of people who all have faith, then you can really speak. That's why I like doing programs in little groups like this, with all of you. I'd much prefer, rather than, if we go to some big thing, if I were to try to speak, could you imagine if I were to go to some big temple where I didn't know is 200 or 300 or 500 devotees, and I would try to speak just exactly what we're speaking today. I can tell you what a lot of people would say. They would say, why is he saying that? Prabhupada didn't speak like that. Prabhupada didn't do that. Who does he think he is? Well, you get a lot of response like that because they don't know you. They don't really have faith in you. So it's so very, very important. And we all need that kind of love and acceptance, that kind of nourishment that comes in intimate Sangha. So Lila Purushottam Prabhu, you can go to Ypsilanti and do kirtan with Siddha Hari Prabhu.
Yeah, that would be a great.
You can go to Czech and Siddha Hari and Lila Purushottam Prabhu's house. It's really, really nice Sangha. It's very, very sweet. Or you can both employed. Sweet and intimate employed.
Today.
Remember, Jaigor, once we were doing Harinam every day for like 1 or 2 hours a day for some time. And it was just the sweetest, most intimate, nice Harinams. It was about 5 or 6 of us, a very small group. And then one day there was a big group of Russian devotees who came. And it was like, I don't know, 50 devotees or something. We thought, yes, this is really good. So they were fired up for Harinam. You guys come. And I remember as soon as we went outside our house and got in the Harinam, immediately, something was wrong. It was all like real passionate, hardcore dancing and whatever. And the sweetness wasn't there. The intimacy wasn't there. And I felt a little sad that day. Paradoxically, it was wonderful to be with so many devotees, and I would do it again. So we do need both, as Lila Purushottam was saying, we need to have these big festivals, we need to have big programs. Like we go to Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu would go to Rath Yatra, but then he would go home to the Gambhira with Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda. And we need a program like that. We need to go back home and be with the cows. And just a few sweet intimate devotees. All right. Thank you.
One more thing I want to say. This is regarding from the class. You mentioned how you mentioning in regards to something else, that how many gurus had fall down because they don't have any friends. They surround themselves with yes men and sycophants who are just always appreciating. So I was mentioning that this is also, I feel, something that happens in our society a lot, that people are always saying too much flowery words in appreciation and not really genuine appreciation. And also people are afraid to share criticism, or things of constructive improvement. So I'm wondering, how do you go like in a friendly relationship? Do you often ask your friends, is there something I can work on? And do you have friends who speak to you frankly, this is something you can work on? Or is it something you just wait for Chaitanya Guru to show up in your life through different things happening and, like something fall apart? Oh, Krishna is speaking, like that. How do you go about that?
First of all, let me say something a little discouraging. That what is our concept of friendship? That's the first thing I would start with. And what we constitute as friendship a lot of times in our movement is not friendship. It's just sweet dealings with some person. But really, friendship means that we know the other person in a very intimate way, and we're very, very close for due to prolonged periods of nam-bhajan together and hari katha and paraspara back and forth discussion. So that's the first thing. And without that, if we really have very deep friendship, then it's intuitive, it's natural how to speak to that other person. And generally, it won't be in the form of, hey, I just want to tell you, you're really a jerk. You're just so puffed up. And I'm just telling you this for your own good. You just got to bring your pride down a notch or two. It's probably not going to come in that form, but it'll come in a very intimate, loving way that Prabhu, you did like that. I'm not really sure. Is that really best thing? Or you can say something in a subtle way. And that parokshavad, that subtlety doesn't work when you're in a big football stadium with people and you're trying to give a lecture in front of 10,000 people talking about Krishna consciousness before the Super Bowl. It's not they don't understand parokshavad when you do that subtlety. But that parokshavad is so important with friends, and that's how we deal with them. We show respect. We don't have to hit them over the head and tell them, look, you're so damn proud and this and that, but we can speak in a way that will accomplish it. And of course, that also depends on so many things, on our receptivity to the person, how dull-headed we are. Sometimes Gurudev may have to bash us on the head, slap us in the face. Gomaj did that both with me. Because we're so dull, that may be required sometimes also. It's my reflection.
Thank you, Bo. I appreciate it. That does shed a lot of light on this.
Mila Purushottam Prabhu. Jai Gaur is commenting, deep and real friendships actually come from many hours of nam-bhajan hari katha together. Love it. Yeah, you know that. That's just the thing, and that's the difficulty. We sometimes criticize. We very quickly criticize managers. Why do we criticize managers? Because we think that's the solution. Management's the solution. But if we're absorbed in Nam Kirtan as a solution, then the managers, they have a problem. Who cares? It's not a very big thing. But we become disturbed by it. And what is the problem with the managers? The managers have a very difficult situation. When you have a program like Siddha Hari Prabhu is talking about, of just a few intimate men in Ypsilanti on Saturdays, you do some kirtan for 3 or 4 hours. You don't have to announce that. You don't have to give an order, Prabhu, all the bhaktas are supposed to come to this program. Everybody it's required for you to come. People come there out of love. And that creates such a beautiful, intimate sangha. When you have a leader like Srila Prabhupada, that everybody just loves. He doesn't have to push himself forward or anything. It's just automatic. But when you get a position of being a temple president, and they call you in, the GBC calls you in, and they say, hey, Lila Purushottam, we need to have a new temple president. We're going to open a big center up in Prague, and we want you to be in charge, and we're appointing you there. And maybe Lila Purushottam says, oh, Jai. But what does that mean? Then you inform everybody, this person has been appointed, and you are supposed to give your allegiance to him. You are supposed to love him even. You're supposed to appreciate him. You're supposed to follow him. But it's all artificial because it's not done just spontaneously in a natural way. And so I feel sorry oftentimes when I see managers in our society, they're doing it because they've been requested by senior devotees or by their guru. But it's such a difficult position because it's not natural. People don't love them for themselves. They just, oh, this is artificial appointed person. So God help us. I've had that before. I don't want to be an official appointed person. This is Leela Purushottam Prabhu's promise, and I'm going to have a talk with Bhakti Vaibhav Maharaj after this. That at that time I'm running to Puri for good. So I'm going to talk to Bhakti Vaibhav Maharaj and say, hey, Maharaj, you know, I really think that you're missing a jewel there. And Leela Purushottam should be like the regional secretary for all of Czech, in charge of all the centers and things, and you should appoint him. And if Maharaj does it, then we'll see you in Puri next week, right?
In that regard, I'm more than sure he won't he won't buy it. He knows me too well.
Anybody else with any reflections or anything you want to share? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and stop. It's a little late. Okay, thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be able to associate with all of you in such an intimate way. It really nourishes me so much. I'm very grateful. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhaktavinda ki, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo, Vancha Kalpa Paribhascha, Kripa Sindhu Vyeva Cha, Patitanam Pavaneva, Vaishnava